Hello and welcome back to the special mini-series Grief Repurposed. Today is our final episode as we hear from Shannon Martin, and she shares the journey that she's been on with her mental health. Hello and welcome to One Called Mama. I am your host, Sam, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited to share a new friend of mine, Shannon, with you all today. She has her own podcast. She has a subscription box that she does, which I am really excited to learn more about. Shannon, I think that is so cool. And today we're going to be talking about mental health and mental health wellness, and just really your journey with that and how God has taken what you've been through and turned it into what you're doing now. So before we jump into all that, Shannon, I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Shannon Martin, and I live in Dallas, Georgia. We're about 30 minutes, 40 minutes outside of Atlanta,
Mhm.
and I have three grown children. My last one just graduated from college. We're excited about that, and he will be attending Yale in the fall to
Wow.
get his master's in music performance. So we're really excited about that. I have one grandbaby that I love to death. He is my joy. And I'm entering a season of empty nester. And I didn't know that was a thing, but it really is a thing. So I am on that new journey of just, finding myself and really rediscovering who I am now at this point in my life. So this is going to be interesting. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I really love what you do and what you're the journey that you've been on and the little bit that I know
Mhm.
is it really focuses around mental health.
Mhm.
And I would really love for you to share kind of how God has taken what you've been through, what you are currently going through, and how He's turned it into your calling, what you are doing now. So let's talk about how this all started for you.
Hmm. Okay, well, it started really back in 2013 when I first had um my major panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
I I really didn't know what was going on with me. I knew that I was having some issues, and it started with like a pain in my shoulder. And I really thought that it was just I didn't know what it was. When I went to the doctor, she said that, oh, at the time, women were having issues with carrying, how you carry your purse and you have your children, you have, the whole kitchen sink inside your purse. She said, well, you really have a heavy bag. And I did, it was a thick strap. And she said, I think that that's causing your pain. So she said, just start shifting, your purse and that should be fine. But the pain never really went away. And I just kept saying, okay, well, maybe it'll, if I keep shifting it and it'll be fine. But one day it just never went away. And one night it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I told my husband he was working the midnight shift because he's a police officer. And I said, when you come home, I'm gonna have to go to the emergency room. And when I got to the emergency room, I my whole right side just went out. And I was thinking, I'm 42 years old, what is going on with me? Am I having a heart attack? What is this? Because I was crying uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. My whole right side was just flopping. And he had to literally carry me into the emergency room. And I was like, what is going on with me? I was scared because, I'm 42 and my children were still in school. And I told them before we left, I said, I'll be right back. Because I'm thinking, it's just something, it's nothing serious. But when I got to the back and they ran EKGs on me and everything like that, they said, we think we know what's going on with you. And they said, well, let's calm your body down. Because at that time, my whole right side was just out of control. And they said, well, let's give you some medication to kind of calm your body down. And I told the doctor, he said, well, is there something that's been going on with you that, you know, happened? I said, well, I've been having this pain in my right arm. I said, but the doctor told me it was just because my purse was too heavy. And the look of all the nurses and the doc, they were like, what?
Oh.
I said, what did she say? I said, yes, that's what she told me. He said, no, that was your body signaling that something was going on. It was your nerves pinching, and it was telling you, signaling to you that something was going on and that you needed to pause. And I didn't know that. I should have went to a second doctor and said, okay, something is going on with me. Can you please check again?
Mhm.
He said, you just had a major panic attack and this is serious. And then he kept asking me other questions. He said, well, are you not wanting to do things? You're not doing blah, blah, blah. And I said, no. He said, well, you're also experiencing depression because they usually run together. He called them bedmates. They're
Oh.
usually bedmates. And I was like, what? Because you hear of it, but you never in your wildest dream think that it's going to happen to you. You don't think that I knew one other person that had panic disorder, but we didn't really talk about it. So I'm here thinking, well, okay, I'm going to be fine. Just give me what I need to do, what I need to do. Things like, no, Miss Martin, this is serious because you need, if not, you're going to have to really go to a doctor, take care, do the things. And so here I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to, this is going to be fine. It's going to be over with. And when I started the treatment and went to the doctor, he was like, oh, Miss Martin, you're going to have to take medication. And I'm looking at him like, for what? This is really going to, I can do this. This is going to be, it's not going to be hard. And little did I know how challenging it was really going to be, that it was really going to wipe my body out,
Mm.
how tired really was going to be, and how difficult the challenge was going to be when depression set in bad. Because at that time, it was just my body hurting, you know, and give me medication to really just calm me down. But after I went to see a doctor, he was saying, no, you need to take this seriously. And at the time, at the beginning, I didn't take any of it seriously. I was really thinking that I was super mom and that I was really just going to knock it out and just get back to my life. But by that first year, I realized that this is not, this is serious. And so what was happening with me was that I was around people who didn't understand mental wellness, mental health at all. And no one wanted to advise me to seek counseling. No one wanted me to take medication because medication, you're going to get on it, it's going to mess you up, you're going to do the things. Um, Counseling is just going to, my doctor was against counseling at the time, and I was against it too. And he was saying, well, all they're going to do is sit there and, you know, go through your mind and they're just going to poke around for a long time and you're not going to get to a solution. So I was like, okay, fine. And this went on for about 3 years that I was suffering. And I just said, you know, Lord, I, after being in the bed and for 3 years, what the breaking point was, it was when my children stepped in. They decided to do an intervention. And my little three bears were like, my daughter was an early bird, and my sons were like gamers, real bad gamers at the time. So she would take the morning shift and watch me, and they would take the night shift and watch me. And they came to me and said, well, hey, mom, how are you doing? I was like, well, I'm fine. They said, no, well, you've been sleeping for 17 hours. And I said, there's no way I have been asleep for 17 hours. And they took out their phones and they said, okay, at this time you did this, this, and this. And at this time you did this, this, and this. And you went back to sleep. This time you did this. They counted down all of the times what I did, what I ate, and when I went back to sleep. And they sat in the bed with me for about a good hour or so and just talked to me and made sure I did not go back to sleep. And shortly thereafter, they went down and they talked to their dad. And that's when he came up and he said, I don't know what to do for you, but pray for you. But I know that something has to change and that you have to go get some help. If not, I'm going to have to make you get help. And that's when I realized, okay, I have to get serious about something. And I sat down and I prayed and I asked God, what do I need to do? Because I'm listening to my family who think they have my best interest at heart, but they're functioning. They're getting up, going to work and hanging out and doing all the things, but I'm not. I'm the one that's in bed, not moving for my family. And that's when I heard him say, you need counseling and you need to take the medication. And so I told my doctor, I said, I know you don't like counseling, but I need a referral. And if you can't give me a referral, then I have to go see another doctor. And I need to really try to work on the medication now because I have to function from here on out. And that was in like 2015 when I really, really started on this wellness journey. And I remember laying there too, saying to myself, uh, even though I have all these people that love me and care for me, they really weren't understanding what I was going through. And I felt alone a lot of the times because they were telling me what I need to do, what I need to do, but they really weren't getting to the issue at hand. And I didn't even know. So when down the line, coming up to what I created, that was part of it. I didn't want another woman to feel alone in this because when you're going through it in your darkest times, people really do think that they're helping you. You need to get up, you need to go outside, you need to um, do this and this and this, but they don't realize you don't have the energy or the drive or the desire to do any of that. And they really do. And it's really good that you have that. And I was really blessed to have it, but you still feel alone in that journey because you're like, I'm here, but right now I'm just existing. I'm not filling my own cup and I don't know how to do it. And even though my husband was trying to do it and my kids were trying to do it, they just didn't know how. And I didn't know how to do it because I didn't have the tools that I needed to do it. Because I wasn't getting the counseling, I wasn't getting the medication, I wasn't getting any of that. So I had to stop and process that for myself. And so when I started to saying, okay, the mist cleared after I got that confirmation from God saying, no, you need to do this. And when the mist cleared and I started to seeing myself, seeing my face and all the things I was neglecting, I was like, oh my God, I have been neglecting me, my whole everything. And that's what made me start down um, the journey to get well. And as I was laying in the bed, I said, Lord, if I'm ever in a better position, a better place to where I can talk about this, I want to talk about it, but only when it's time, because I have to still heal and I still have to go through that. And that's something I always would talk to him about during those dark times. And that's another thing that kind of led me down the path as well. Just saying, I want to talk about this because I don't know anybody. I only knew two people that I can still tell you that at that time that openly talked about their mental health to me. And that was back then.
So, did you ever identify what caused you to get to that place?
hmm I was doing too much for everybody else. And I was literally thinking for six people. I was a stay-at-home mom. And my brother used to tease me all the time, you are a superwoman, a soccer mom, you are all of that. And I really was because I had my three kids, but then sometimes I also had to care for my mom. And she stayed with us a lot. So I had that, wife, mom, daughter, all those things. And then it became to the point where I was just putting out fires, doing this, doing that. And I was pushing everybody first, but I was putting me way to the back.
Mm.
And I wasn't properly stopping to just do anything for me. I mean, to the point where I was not Even I wasn't going to the doctors. I wasn't buying clothes for myself. I wasn't doing anything. Only time I buy things if it was necessary. So everything was being sacrificed for family. And you can understand, understand that. It's just what we do as moms. And even emotionally, um, I was nurturing everyone but me. And I didn't take the time out for any of that. I was just go, 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 go. The Energizer Bunny just going. And I didn't realize any of that until I had that sharp pain, but I was still going. I was still on that treadmill going because I knew that um, my husband worked and I took care of the other side. So that was my part that I had to keep everything going, right? Because that was the whole side. I made everything comfortable so that everyone else can just, go to school, do their thing, do their part. That was their part. And my part was just take on all the other responsibilities. And I didn't realize how heavy it was until I broke down.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I still didn't understand the gravity of it until years later, as I'm unraveling and I'm going to counseling and I'm unraveling and unraveling. I'm like, oh my goodness, did I really do that? And also, too, I was a people pleaser. I was really a strong people pleaser. I really wanted to make sure that everyone had every single thing they needed, they wanted. I never rarely said no. I never said no, hardly. And that was another thing that I had to learn how to do. And sometimes I still have a hard time doing it, but now it's a little bit more easier for me to say no, because I know that it's good for me. But then I didn't say no to anything. It was always, let me see what I can do. And I sacrificed a lot. So that was really a big part of that.
What I hear in what you're sharing is something that I think I a lot of it resonates. I
Hmm.
have not been through what you've been through. What I hear is that you thought you were fine.
Hmm.
You felt fine. Maybe, until you started having the pain, right? That was kind of your body saying, okay, we
Right.
need a break. We need rest. You're in burnout.
Hmm.
Uh, but what is interesting is that until that moment, you felt like you were fine. You didn't feel like you were depressed. You didn't feel like you were overstressed or overstimulated, or, I'm sure you had moments where you
Hmm.
felt, you were tired or like, hey, I need a break. But it sounds to me like, really honestly, you just thought everything was, I feel good. I'm good. I can keep up this pace indefinitely.
And definitely, and that's exactly what I thought. It's just one time after the pain hit that I had one moment that I thought, okay, something is seriously going on. And that's when I had I don't know what it was. It was like a moment of pea soup. I want to call it pea soup.
Mhm.
It's like I was sitting there in the car with my husband, and we were having a conversation, and I could not physically hear or focus. And it was like I was trying to hear whatever was going on. It was just foggy. And I just started to cry. And I was like, what the heck? And I told him, I said, I cannot comprehend what you're saying right now. And he's like, what is going on with you? I said, I don't know what's going on with me. Eh, I could not, it was just so, the fog was so thick and heavy. And I said, it's like pea soup right now. And I told him, I said, I can't do the duties anymore. I can't do this. So I had to hear, you got to take this off of me. And he was like, okay, I'll take it for you. I said, take it for a little bit. Let me just reset myself and let me just figure out what this is. Because it was like just that one time I said, okay, I'm not hearing it. He said, well, are you hearing anything? Because he's thinking, trying to say, are you like, is it schizophrenia? No, I'm not hearing voices. I'm not hearing anything like that. But I just can't understand what you're saying right now. And he was a little scared for me at the moment because he was like, what is this? I told him because I'd never done that. And at the time had been married for like 20 years. And he was like, I've never seen you like this before. I said, I've never seen you like this before either. And that's right before everything happened. And I said, I don't know, but just take this because I was handling the finances, I was handling everything. So just take that from me for a bit, because I can't think past, as I was doing things to, like, forgetting to put lunch money on my son's account.
Mhm.
Little things like that,
Yeah.
were coming up. But I was like, oh well, maybe, how you say, oh, I just dropped the ball on that one. I put it back, the school call. Oh, I put it right now. But it wasn't, still, I'm fine. I'm still
Mhm.
got the balls juggling.
Yeah.
But it was just that moment I said, I still didn't go and get checked out again.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm still fine. The pain is okay. I can manage it. A little fuzzy, but my husband's taking that part off. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna be okay. And it still didn't register that I'm burning out.
Yeah.
I'm burning the stick at both ends. It still didn't register because he was like, okay, I can do it. I'm fine. I just want you to be okay.
Yeah. I think what you're sharing and what you're saying is really powerful because I know that I'm relating to a lot of it. And I'm kind of like, whoa, okay. Because you have those moments and you think it's no big deal. You think it's just a moment. It's just my brain. I'm just tired.
Right.
You write it off and you write it off and you really don't see that it's anything more than that until something big happens.
Hmm.
And fortunately for you, it wasn't a heart attack; it was a panic attack. But that's serious. Not
Right.
to say that's not serious. We're
Right.
thankful it wasn't a heart attack.
Right.
But panic attacks. I think have. I mean, I could be wrong, but I've heard that once they start happening, they don't ever really go away. That they
They
kind of
don't.
just become a part of what you have to deal with.
Hmm.
So walk us through how long did it take in your journey with once you started counseling, once you got on medicine, when did you start to see that you could what was your what was your journey like after that when you started to see that there were things kind of coming back into focus again?
Once I started to uh get counseling, and the process was like, what's triggering you?
Mm,
That was really huge for me. What's triggering you? Breath work. How
mm,
to kind of counter it before it really gets out of control. Because when I started to take the medication, I still wasn't able to fully control my panic attacks. Like you said, they still come. And what really scared me was when my doctor, he told me, he said, okay, they're going to be with you for a while. Sometimes you'll have a season where you won't have them at all, and then they just come back all of a sudden. But since you have a disorder where they come all the time, they even come in my sleep.
oh,
So they'll wake me up out of my sleep. So what we need for you to do is you need to actually be careful, because you can only have so many of them before they begin to affect your heart. And I was like, okay, what? Let's talk about this,
yeah,
because I don't want to have heart disease or anything like that. So I really stopped focusing on the depression part and really wanted to focus on my anxiety, because I did not want to have any type of heart disease. And so what counseling did for me was help me focus on um, how to concentrate on what's triggering me, how to ask the difficult questions about, like, uh, what are you doing to make yourself so exhausted? What did you do this week, or like during the day, that those thoughts that's ruminating in your head, that's giving you anxiety? What they gave me the tools that I needed, that I didn't have before, and to ground myself. Okay, like what's going on in the room right now? Like, I can hear my fan, I can hear you talking, I guess, I can hear the different things to ground myself. I can do my breath work, and sometimes just sit silently and mostly pray, either meditate or pray. And so it gave me those tools that I needed to kind of like center myself again. And one thing that I'm supposed to be doing every day is, because I'm in my head a lot, I'm supposed to journal and meditate, because it kind of pulls that out of me, because the hamster is always going. And so I have to to stop it from going, I have to the thoughts out. And that really helped me because in the beginning, I couldn't stop it. And I was always in the emergency room a lot, trying to control it. And that's scary because you're like, I'm always in there. And of course, they had to check more by my name all the time because I was always there. And after I did all of that, and I went to a facility to really get myself help. And that's when they started telling me, okay, you're going to have to do this every day. You're going to have to journal. You're going to have to do the things. So it was a really tough journey to kind of get through all of these things to get me there. And I'm now able to manage it better. I know now too that I have to do my breath work every day. I know I have to do the journaling. I know that I have coloring helps. All these tools that I have to do to kind of keep me calm because any little thing now, before it didn't, now something will just make me anxious. And I've noticed it now that I'm getting older that it's my anxiety a little give me a little bit more antsy, but I have medication that helps me every day now. And it keeps me a little bit more calm. So with that, I'm so thankful that I really decided to do that because if not, I would probably have a lot more issues than I have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. I'm curious if you do you think that if you had maybe had these tools before you had these symptoms in your body, the pain in your arm and the kind of the tunnel vision, you called it pea soup. Do you think if you had had these tools beforehand, would you have ever gotten to the point where you are now that you're dealing with panic attacks, you're dealing with this level of anxiety?
I asked myself that question too. I don't think I would have. I
Mm,
think that if I would have went to gotten a second opinion or if I would have gotten just said went and said asked another doctor, these are the symptoms I'm having, at the time, especially when I had the pea soup and I just started breaking down crying.
mhm.
Now I know that those were the symptoms of burnout,
Yeah.
because that's something that no one ever talked to me about. Like, this is what's going on with you. No one told me about those things. So I think if I would have went and said that, I could have gotten a lot of help before any of this.
Yeah.
And then I could have started doing this, my self-care, taking care of myself more and really pausing and kind of like delegating some more things off of me, saying no,
Yeah.
um, really thinking and taking charge more of my life better at
Yeah.
that time and kind of shifting from the people pleasing aspect of it, doing a lot of shifting, right? Um, and I wish I would have because I thought about that if I would have done it differently. But now that I know that, and I can tell other people, hey, if you're having these issues, like I could tell my daughter, hey, if you're, because she's starting her family.
Yeah.
I tell friends when they start talking about certain things, I'm like, hey, you may need to shift some things out, start delegating some things, because it's sounding like you're heading that way.
Mhm.
And now since I'm talking about it, I find that my friends are coming to me and saying, hey. And I'm like, yeah, you may want to go talk to somebody about that.
Mhm.
So now, um, I wish I would have done that because I think it would have been a lot different.
Yeah.
I think that I was going that route and it could have stopped a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
I was just sitting here thinking, it's so interesting that we're talking about this because I just did an episode not that long ago on the show about how I was starting to have things happen in my body. They were exhibiting as high blood pressure and dizzy spells, like constant. They
Mm,
were becoming constant. And it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, what's going on?
right,
And just like you, I was able to, because I'd had people, resources. There are a lot more resources now than there were when
right,
you were dealing with these things.
right.
um, and people are talking about it a lot more.
Hmm.
And so I knew that, okay, if my body's telling me this, then that probably means I'm not managing something well. There's
Mm.
something that's off, and my
Right.
body is telling me. It's saying, "Hey, we need a break," or you need it's saying help. It's a red flag.
Right.
And I think if we're willing to slow down, I mean, it took me a couple of weeks. I think it took me like roughly 2 weeks when they started to get really bad. I think it took me about a week and a half, 2 weeks to figure it out. It still
Right.
took me, I still think that's a long time because in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
a lot can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you finally slow down enough to realize, okay, what is my body telling me right now? What do I need to really be listening to?
Right.
What needs to change or shift in order for me to function? Because it's not necessarily about removing obligations. Sometimes it is. If we've over
Mhm.
obligated, we've over committed, we need to own up to that and be like, look, this is, I have to say no to this now.
Right.
And that's okay. Like that's okay.
Very okay.
It's
Mm-hmm.
very okay. And there should be no guilt or shame in that. I'm
Right.
just going to say that there should be
Right.
no guilt or shame because we do enough. We do. And
Do.
sometimes we just overcommit. We think that, hey, we can handle this. And it turns out we can't. And that's
Right.
okay. But sometimes it can mean that it just needs to look a certain way in
Mm-hmm.
order to function and do the thing. So really, it's just extreme ownership and understanding yourself, understanding what has God really said, yes, this is what I want for you right now. And maybe
Right.
you shouldn't have said yes to this over here.
Right.
Just understanding that one yes needs to be defended with 1,000 no's. And
Right.
and that if you're saying yes to things, what are you saying no to? And
Yes.
what I'm hearing in you is that you were saying no to yourself. You were saying no to whatever it was that you needed. You were just, like you said, you were wanting to help everyone else. And
Yeah.
it comes from a place of love, and
Mhm.
that's a good thing. And also we can take something to the extreme and it becomes not so good, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can become toxic.
Yeah.
And also too, I think when you begin to realize that you're doing that and you have to take that shift, the people that are become so dependent on you,
Mm,
they don't understand when you make those changes,
yeah.
you know. And then it's like, especially when you're diagnosed with depression and all that, then it becomes an ugly exchange,
Mm,
you know. Uh, so then you're crazy, then you're, oh, she's this, or she's brainwashed, or it becomes really ugly,
mm,
right? Because you're saying yes to yourself, because you're saying yes to, I have to heal, I have to do this for me. And they don't understand that I can't be there for you all the time anymore like I used to be. I am ill and I have to heal myself to be the better person for everybody.
right.
Because if I'm not well, the house isn't well,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to do that. And I got a lot of backlash from that, believe it or not.
Wow.
And there was another part, that came with that. It's because some people were really dependent on me to just continue to say yes.
Mm,
And it took me a while to deal with that guilt because I was people pleasing, right? So
yeah.
it took me a while to deal with that guilt, and that part took me to the depression part. But once I got through that, and I'm like, I'm not anyone's blame anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm so much better for that.
Yeah.
And now the healing journey has been so much better.
Yeah.
Do I still have issues? Absolutely. I deal with them all the time because, like I said, never it's going to go away. I'm going to always be on my wellness journey.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be healing. But now like I say, I'm saying yes to me. And I still have people coming to me like, we need to start. Not don't start that, because
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm doing for Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
And now they understand not to even start that. Don't go there with me.
Yeah.
So I think it's an understanding that they have now, family members that don't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, something my counselor always told me, you have to stop explaining it.
Yeah.
Stop explaining it, because you're never going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make you give you more issues than it is for them.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing.
I think you bring up a really, really excellent point is that when you start setting boundaries with people,
Hmm.
and especially when you had maybe not ever set a boundary with them before, they don't
Ever.
like it. And it
Oh,
could be family, it could be friends, it could be people that you've known for 15 years that maybe
hmm.
they really do love you, maybe they really are a friend. I don't know specific relationships, but when you set a boundary with people, they just don't like it, and it's
At
hard.
all. Hmm.
And you are, if you're out there listening and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have to set some pretty hard boundaries, this is something that's going to happen, and more than likely it's something that's going to have to, it might hurt. It might hurt for you, it might hurt for them, and they're thinking it's rejection. I'm not on
Yeah.
the other side of it. They might be thinking it's rejection, they might be thinking you don't have time for me. I don't know what they're thinking,
Right.
and it doesn't matter. You have to do what's healthy, you have to do what's good for you, and that is just unfortunately a reality of when you start to pull back and you start to recognize this is what this has to look like now.
Right.
People aren't going to always like it, and they're not going to support you. And I think um we want to believe that everyone will support us or they'll agree with our decisions.
Right.
And what I've had to learn is that as I've walked my journey with the Lord and with my husband and my kids, you know, it really just honestly does not matter what other people think.
Hmm.
It You have to do what you know is right and what you know is good for your family, your family. I'm talking about husband and kids, like that's it.
Right.
um, that has to be whatever that needs to be healthy. And if you're following the Lord and the Lord's saying you do this, then by golly, that's what you do. And
Yeah.
everyone else who doesn't like it, as much as it might hurt and disappoint you,
Right.
it's just gotta, you gotta be okay with it, and you gotta learn that hard lesson that it really just doesn't matter what other people think. And that's that. And I'm saying for myself
Right.
too, that it's been
Right.
a hard lesson to learn.
It's really hard, especially when it's uh like say when it's a loved one, or like in this instance it was my mother,
Mm,
you know. And that was really hard for me because that was the person that was my, and so it was really hard, but I had to do it for me.
yeah.
And my husband was like, "Hey, I have your back. You have to get well."
Yeah.
And so, and my children were like, "You have to get well, mom." So my unit was there, and that's what was important,
Yeah.
is that they knew that I was on the right track and the right path. And later on, she slowly began to understand. But I also had to understand that from that generation,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't understand what's going on now. They
Yeah.
didn't understand the medication and, doctors and things like that. So it was a generational thing.
Yeah.
And so I had to understand, okay, she's not coming from our generation where we're like in now, probably, so I had to also think about that. So we had to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't think about that. It's mostly you could go to church, pray about it, do other things. But now it's like, no, there's other things to help us along with God to help us heal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not that. So we had to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're not, other people are not receptive to that. They're like, no, you need to do this, and you're not doing it right. And so that was another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you praying enough? Are you doing this enough? Those types of things.
Yeah.
So it was a real battle, not only with just me, but the other excess people. So once I made that choice, it was hard to just say, push people to the side and say, so if anybody's going through that, that's a whole other bag of stuff. You're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with all the people that you care and love, and you think that love you, but you have to push to the side and say, I got to do this for me. And like I said, that's when that boundary comes up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's very hard to do.
Very hard. It's
Very hard to do.
painful.
It's very painful.
And I think too, and I could be completely off on this, but we're talking about generational differences.
Hmm.
I feel like there is a different level of oppression now than
Hmm.
there was then, and maybe your mother's generation, my parents' generation. I feel like there is just, spiritual warfare is always present, and
Always. Hmm.
it is, it is really honestly what we're fighting.
Hmm.
And I just think that there is a level of oppression now that has never been dealt with in a way that it's just ever present. It's become more than generations past. And I'm not, everyone's story and journey looks different. Maybe there are some people out there who can heal without medication. Maybe they can
Right.
heal, and that is not something that they need. I've been both. I've had part of my journey, I've been on medication, and part of it I was not. And I'm
Right.
thankful for it when it was there. And I'm thankful that now I can say
Right.
I don't have to have that right now. I was able to get past it. But that's not everyone's story. And that's okay. Like, if we understand that it's a tool, it's something that you use
Mhm.
when you need it. And if you can get away from it, great. If not, great. Like, it's not, there should be no shame, because the
Mhm.
shame cycle, the guilt cycle, the you're not praying right, you're not praying enough, your relationship with God isn't strong enough.
Mhm.
I just don't buy that.
Right.
Because getting into that gets into the whole legalistic, you're not praying right, or they're saying the right prayer. Well, actually,
Right.
that's the opposite of what we should
Right.
believe.
Right. And
So,
that's, yeah, and that's the whole thing that I was really battling as well, because I was like, how do you know how I'm praying?
yeah.
Do you not know that what you just said could unravel something that a person, speaking of myself, all those years that I was in bed in my fetal position the whole time I was speaking to God?
Mm,
You don't know what I've done. So for you to sit here and say that the reason why I'm still here is because I was talking to God. And the reason why a lot of people who may not have been here is because they were tired.
yeah.
You have to understand the whole, everyone, like I say, everyone's situation is different. Like I said, the oppression of that, I just asked myself, and I was talking to my husband, I said, what is that? And he said, well, people seem to think, well, we talked about, this is our opinion, is that because God is so great. He's omnipotent. He's the mover of all things. And if you're not well, then there's something you're doing wrong.
Mm-mm.
And I said, that is it. And that you're not praying right, because Sarah got well. So and so was healed from cancer. So and so, all these, he's made miracles. Why aren't you well? So
Yeah.
evidently you're not doing something. So I think
Mhm.
that's where the oppression comes in at, that
Yes.
okay, you're not doing something right. And I trust me, I've had my best come on me, like I'm like, listen, the reason why I'm here and what sustains me is that I talk to God every day.
Right.
I talk to him throughout the day. I talk to him to keep my mind focused and steady. I talk to him to keep my anxiety in check.
Mhm.
Those are the reasons why I'm still here.
Right.
That is the reason why I'm taking medication. That's the reason why I'm going to counseling, is because of I heard God tell me that. Now, you're coming at me saying that is offensive,
Yeah.
and really, Christians really should understand that you can have Jesus in therapy and all of, like I said, all the tools, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't love God. Oh my God, I do. He has brought me through so much, and I'm still here to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I thank him every day that I wake up and I have my breath, right?
Mm.
But the thing is that when people say that, it irks me to my soul. It really
Mhm.
does. And it's because you don't know me. You don't know my story. And you don't know how much um, I've talked to him throughout all of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm in agreement with you totally. Because like you said, sometimes I'm not on depression medication, right?
Mhm.
I can't take it. I'm sensitive to it. I manage it as best I can,
Mhm.
because I can't find anything yet that's helping me with that.
Right.
But luckily, I don't need that part, but
Mhm.
my anxiety side does.
Yeah.
So that's what I take it for.
Yeah.
But my other side doesn't have to have it. It's
Mm.
just I use the tools for my depression side, and I use the medicine for my anxiety side.
Mhm.
So it's a delicate juggle,
Mhm.
you know? So I'm in total agreement with you on that. Totally. It just really it baffles me
Yeah.
when people do
Well,
that.
there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, even in scripture, when they were talking about, I don't remember if he was blind or lame or what it was, but he was like, well, what was his sin? Why is he this way? What
Mhm,
caused him
mhm,
to be ill? And Jesus is like, Nothing, nothing. He's just ill.
He just
And
ill.
sometimes, I believe I've come, this last year has brought me to this belief in that my story is not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who it's going to help and
Mm-hmm.
how it's going to glorify God.
Exactly.
And when I go through something difficult, it if I can take myself out of the equation and
Mm-hmm.
I can say, okay, what is God trying to accomplish in this? And more than likely, I won't be able to do that in the moment when it's really hard, right? It's going to be
Right.
after the hard has passed and I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
process and be on the other side of it. But then saying to myself, what was the point of this? What is
Mm-hmm.
God doing through this? Because He's doing something.
Right.
He's
Right.
affecting something. He's helping someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the more that I see and understand that life is about more than just me, the experience that I'm going through, it's for someone else. Because too,
Right.
when you think about it, when you really think about it, when we talk about how it's for the glory of God, right?
Right.
Well, if you think about it, that it's that if you're under the belief that it's just about you and it's something really hard or painful, maybe it's devastating and tragic,
Mm-hmm.
then you can ask yourself, well, how does that glorify God? How is he being glorified in my pain right now? What in that is glorifying to him? But then if you
Mm-hmm.
take it and you say, my pain helped someone else because they were
Right.
going through something similar, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to walk in that with them, or I saw people receive salvation because they saw what I was dealing with, and it forced them to face something that they had never thought of before. And it
Right.
was through my pain that they saw that.
Right.
That's how God's glorified. And
Right.
that's how that makes sense.
Yes.
And I don't know, for me, that has completely flipped things on its head when I go through something hard, or, I've had a lot of hard in the last 2 years,
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
And I can tell you without a doubt in my mind that's the whole point.
I agree with you on that because when I was talking and I was through I call it our conversations, um, I was just like there's a reason for this.
Mm,
I don't know what it is, but when I'm better, let me be able to talk about it. And for some reason, I don't know why I said that, why that was part of the conversation, because I was like, here I am, like you said, I'm ill right now,
mhm,
but I know that this is how I'm feeling. I don't want somebody else to feel like this. I know that someone else is feeling alone. I know that someone else is having a very hard time with family and all the things, but no one's talking about it.
yeah.
And I know that maybe my story would just help one person. And if it helps one person, then this is going to help. This is all for naught, right?
Yeah.
And that's what my thought process was on some days when I was kind of clear, and I was having that conversation with God. And I don't know why I had it, but it was just always there. It
Yeah.
was just always that thing that we were talking about. And I remember a friend when I went on a faith retreat, and she was telling me, "Do you have like little conversations?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You in the bathroom, you're taking a shower, and you're having these conversations, and you having these. It's like you're having a conversation." She said, "I said I do." She said, "That's God talking to you."
Yeah.
She said, "Quiet your thoughts and listen to the conversation."
That's cool.
And I was like, "Michelle, what?" She said, "No, listen to the conversation. That's God talking to you." And I was like, "Oh my God, girl, stop it!" But I'm like, I always have these crazy conversations, and I was like, I have them all the time. And she said, "Just listen to them. That's God talking to you." And
Mm,
it was just so profound because I had been having it the whole time I was going through everything. And they just chat, little chatter. And I was like, what the heck is going on? But so I think I'm in total agreement with you on that because that is something that I've always said that if my story, just to talk about it, because I know that it's hard.
mm,
And that when I hear that someone is no longer here because of something like
mm,
this. And my husband, he tickles me with this because he's seen what I've gone through. And so I just don't understand how someone could commit suicide,
mm,
right? Like, no, I can understand.
mhm.
This is a battle of your mind every day.
Yeah.
This is something that you wake up battling constantly. It's not something that you could just wish away. No, you're battling yourself every single day.
Mm.
It's like you're battling that hamster on the wheel every single day. Excuse me. And it's going and it's going. And
Mm.
you have to stop it. And some days it will win. And you have to pause and you have to take a break. And I call them my rest days.
Mm.
Those are days I'm just going to be in bed because I have to completely relax my whole body. Rest. That's my rest day. And I told him, when you have that long enough, you're tired, mentally, physically, spiritually broken and tired. I can see that.
Yes.
And I always get that question asked whenever I'm going through a counseling session. Have you ever thought about committing suicide? And I said, no. And I said, I'm very thankful and grateful that I have not. I said, but I didn't think about it till you just asked me. Now you got to
Exactly.
think about it. Yeah,
Right.
no.
Now it's
I
an
said, "Girl."
intrusive thought. Yeah.
Exactly. I said, but I understand you have to ask that question. I said, but what keeps me not having that thought is tomorrow.
Mm.
What's going to happen tomorrow? What are my children going to do tomorrow? How are they going to do in their career? I want to see that's what keeps me going. What's going to happen with me? Whose story, who am I going to impact tomorrow?
Yeah.
What's going to, all the things, right? And I'm thankful that I have that, but I see, I can see that.
Mm.
And so it's really, it's a battle.
It is.
It's really a battle of your mind
It
every
is.
day.
I've been sitting here wondering if I should even bring this up, and you broached the subject, so I do want to make a comment on that. Is that last year I heard of a local woman who was a Christian, had a
Mhm,
5-year-old son, committed suicide,
mhm,
and depression was something she struggled with, and she
mhm,
had support. That's the thing. She had people in her life that
mhm.
knew what she was dealing with, that loved her, um, and it still happened. She still went through with
Right.
it, and it makes you wonder if it was just that one day
Hmm.
she was just not prayed up that day, or whatever it was for her, she let her guard down,
Hmm.
and it's still so sad. I mean, it's still thinking about it, because to believe that this is not a Christian struggle
Right.
is just such a falsehood from the enemy, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
It
because
is. Hmm.
because if you just let your guard down once
Once.
is
It
all it takes.
is all the time.
Because
Hmm.
if you decide that day that, because you don't know what that day is going to bring, you don't know what might trigger you, you don't know what might set you off.
Hmm. Right.
um I just, we don't really fully, I don't think we fully understand, first, what other people are going through,
Hmm.
and second, the severity of our choices, what we do choose to do and what we don't choose to do.
Right.
Meaning that if we choose to not be prayed up, we choose to not listen to the Lord instead of the enemy.
Hmm.
uh just what that ripple effect is.
Right. And to be honest, that what I call it the hamster on the wheel. I think when I think about that, I know that Regina King's son, when he committed suicide, he had posted this video. It was of SpongeBob, and it had all the different SpongeBob just bouncing around. If it was on fire, it was flaming and everything. That's probably what her mind was doing at the time.
Mm.
When you're that everything is just bouncing and the hamster's on a wheel and you can't stop it. You can't stop it. That's what sent me to the emergency room for the last time when I had to go to a facility. I could not stop it. And I was doing all of my tools, all of my everything. I could not stop it.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that I had the means to be able to go somewhere. Now, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
The place wasn't pretty now, but it gave me what I needed for those 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
That peace, that tranquility that got into my head and said, okay, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I was able to pull myself out of it.
Yeah.
I was lucky that my husband was here because he was off that day. And that's what saved me, that he was here. And I said, I gotta go. He said, because he works in a hospital, he said, they're gonna put you in a facility. What are you talking about? I just need some medication just to stop it. He said, no, they're gonna put you in a facility
Yeah.
because the words you're saying has triggered them to come down. And he
Mhm.
was right. And that's how I got out of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then that's what really got me back into the the rhythm
Yeah.
of getting, back on track.
Yeah.
And so I think that if I did not do that, I don't know what would happen
Mm.
because it's hard to stop. It's really hard to stop, and it's so unfortunate. And that's something that now, be honest with you, Samantha, that if it happens again, I don't want to go back to the emergency room because I know I have that check mark
Mhm.
by my name, and they're going to tell me, okay, we got to send you back,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because because we can't give you what you need here. You have to go back to a facility. And that's why I try to keep it under control here because I don't want to have to do it again. But if I have to, I have to because I got to do what I have to do to keep it under control.
Yeah.
And that's a part of my journey, right?
Yeah.
This time, though, my friend was like, I didn't tell you to go to that one. I told you to go to a nice one. I said, well, I had to do what I had to do, because I needed some support. She said, girl, I didn't tell you to go to that one. I said, no, but the next time I would go to a nicer facility if I knew one. Yeah, but the emergency room sent me to this one. She tickled me, but she said, girl, I did not tell you to go to the one from out the blue. But I said, this is where I had to go. And this is where they sent me to. And it was what I needed.
Yeah.
And I got what I needed, you know. And unfortunately, she did not,
Yeah.
So, and it's something that we have to continue to pray for others so that they get what they need,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. So on that note, I'm really happy with the things that we talked about today. We were going to jump in a lot deeper into your podcast and your subscription boxes. I want you to share those with us real quick. And these are resources for y'all if you're out there listening. So Shannon has a podcast called This Thing Called Wellness.
Mhm.
And I think you said that you were about to start up season 4 soon.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then you also have your subscription boxes. What is your subscription box called?
My subscription box is called Hello Wellness Box. It's a bi-monthly subscription
Okay.
for women over 40. So that's going through helping you to remember to pause. And they are themed bi-monthly boxes.
Okay. So bi-monthly means every 2 months, right?
Yes, every two
Okay.
months.
Every 2 months. Okay. And then your podcast, real quick, if you could tell us what your podcast is about, just kind of a synopsis.
This thing called wellness is also bi-weekly, so it's every other Wednesday. It's just I started it about talking about my journey,
Mhm.
my mental wellness journey, but it's kind of evolving into a lot more things about women rediscovering who they are, again over 40. And now I'm starting to interview women to talk about their story
Mhm.
and what they're doing, kind of like we're doing what happened with you and how you transferred it into something wonderful for others.
Yeah.
So it's evolving and I'm really enjoying that journey. And so I'm going to start back because I took a little break and I'll start back at the end of this month.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
Awesome. So I'm going to put the link to your podcast
mhm.
and your subscription box in the
Yes.
description. I'm going to encourage if you're out there listening, and hopefully Shannon's okay with this, but I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Shannon if she said something or sparked something in you, and you feel like you need someone to reach out to. I'm sure she'd be willing to pray over you. Love on you. So if it's all right with you, Shannon, I'd love to include your social media link. They can go check you out.
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. And then also too, I think I saw, are you thinking about writing a book?
I am. I'm in the
Yes.
process of writing a book now. Yes.
Oh,
So that should be coming out. Y'all keep praying for me.
yes,
It is
absolutely.
very challenging, but I'm really looking forward to it.
That's exciting. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye out for that. You're going to keep us updated
Yes, I
on the
will.
book. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Is there any final words that you'd like to say before we sign off?
Just know that healing is possible. Just continue it one day at a time,
Mm,
one journey at a time. And just remember to always give yourself some grace.
yeah,
Always do that for yourself.
that is always good advice. Always something we need to hear, I think.
Yeah.
Shannon, thank you. I really appreciate you being with us today. I appreciate you sharing your story. It's so important, so relevant, and so crucial to so many, I think, right now. And especially your perspective has been really enlightening. And just for me as well, when we talk about self care, we say it kind of, oh, self care is important,
Right.
and then we move on. But really, no. Self care is not just important; it's vital. It's essential.
Yes. Right.
And we hope that we start taking care of ourselves before we get to a point where it's becomes an emergency, I guess is how
Yes.
we put that.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah, making that always a priority. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so all
Thank you so
right,
much for having me. I appreciate it.
thank you. It's been a
Thank you.
blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. I just love what Shannon shares. It is so needed. And mental health and just the struggle, it's so prevalent. It's so oppressive. And I just really hope that if there was someone out there, just one person that really needed to hear what she had to say, I just pray that it blesses you. If you have any prayer requests, any suggestions for future episodes, if you would like to email me, please reach out at onecalledmama@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us for this special mini series. I have loved this, and I look forward to seeing you in season 6.